I guess soma. Like in some countries, like um, soma is kind of the same as like cannabis, I guess. Like it, like you can hallucinate from taking in cannabis, like soma, and it gives you a high state,
Hmm.
I guess.
What other kinds of products, though? It doesn't have to always be drugs. I mean, drugs are basically escape items. Anything else that people use to escape
Um,
if they don't like their lives, if they don't like their situation, if they don't like what's happening? Anything else that people do?
Virtual games, I guess. Virtual
Yeah.
reality games,
Reality
headsets.
games? Yeah. Anything else? This is a question for everybody, not just yes, your answer is good. But anything else? Think about it. And what other things do people do to escape? So the word I'm looking that we're kind of talking about is the idea of addictions or escaping. But what, it doesn't always have to be drugs. Some people say drugs, some people say alcohol. In the book, it's all about those methods of escape, soma. But what are other things? And like video games, sure, that's not serious, like it's not drugs, but it is a kind of escape. Anything else along those lines
Um,
that people, anybody, this is open to everybody. It's a question for everybody. What do people do to escape situations and lives?
Wait, does reading books count?
Reading books? Yeah, that can be that's a positive escape though. I was thinking more along the lines of like a cell phone. How many
Um,
people are addicted to their cell phone? What other things do people do? Doesn't have to be drugs.
eating.
Eating, yes, I would agree. People overeat. What about things like Amazon or eBay or what's that?
Shopping.
Yeah, it's not serious, but it can be serious, right? Spending money. People tend, what Aldous Huxley is writing about basically is the idea of escaping reality. Now, in his world, it's very dark. He creates a very dark world. It's a world of addiction and government intervention, right? And then we think, oh, soma, right? Or drugs, right? But if you think about it, Amazon and all of those things are regulated by the government as well. They should be regulated by the government. Cell phones, what kinds of cell phones are sold in your country, what kinds of access you have to cell phone, the internet connection, that's all determined by the government too. It's all by the companies. Okay, good. Thank you for the presentation. Any positive comments for Tonsman Khan about his work?
Oh,
I like that picture. Sorry.
I like the connection with Soma and Christianity. I think that was an
Mm,
interesting point about
yeah.
how uh, in Christianity you ritually take wine and wine and bread, and here in Brave New World they ritually take Soma like a religion.
Exactly. Most of the things, addictions for some people become like ritual. They become ritualistic. They become part of a daily routine. And as I mentioned, some of them are not so serious, like shopping too much. Okay, yes, you can lose a lot of money, but you're not really physically damaging yourself like a drug. And it can be dangerous. And there's, can be runs the gamut, right? A long time ago, people used to smoke. I don't know if smoking is still popular in your country. Do people still smoke? Cigarettes? Cigarette smoking is still popular in your country? I don't know.
there are still some people who smoke.
What about the younger generation? That used to be a problem when I was a high school student, that lots of people smoked. I smoke too. So, you know, what about the younger generation? Is that a problem for the younger generation, smoking? Or is
Uh,
it more? Yeah.
it's not the traditional cigarettes are not as popular. I think what's more popular is like the e-cigarettes, uh,
Mm,
like vaping devices. long
Is that
language.
is that really popular with young people
Yes, right
in
now.
your country? But isn't it expensive?
I'm not sure.
No, I
I
mean,
think
I think here it's expensive. I know that I have friends who switched from smoking to e-cigarettes because I don't know, they think that e-cigarettes is less damaging, but I think it's still just a problem. I don't smoke anymore, but just the idea of e-cigarettes, I've heard it can be like for me, it's about for here in Canada, it's $200. It's expensive for a habit or for an addiction. But I guess, you know, if you're going to go shopping on Amazon, you could spend $200 easily if you have access to it. Your cell phone or video games too, those are expensive. I don't know. Okay, so the novel itself is all about the idea of escapism, but I think, you know, as I mentioned, Aldous Huxley paints a very, very dark, it's a very dark novel. It's a very, I don't know if it's realistic, but it's very dark. It's got a lot of human qualities in it, the dark side of humanity. Okay, so for that particular book, is there anybody still presenting on that? I know the ISU is coming up, which I will talk about in 2 seconds, but I just want to make sure. So, Lena, you are presenting next week. Lily,
Yes,
Lily, are you presenting next week?
I'll present it next week.
Okay. Um, and and then that, so today I'm just going to finish the rest of it. I don't know what happened to Tongman Khan, he's gone now. Okay, so let me just go through what's happening with the final exam. I know that the school has talked to you about eliminating the final exam and being canceled. Can you see this document in front of you? This is your mark book for the course. You see this?
yes.
Yes,
Okay, as you know, assessment of activities are allocated at 70% of your final mark. So all of these activities will go towards your 70%. What used to count as the final 30% was 10% for the ISU, your independent study, and then 20% for the exam. Here in Ontario, the government has decided that final exams are virtually impossible because many students haven't really been studying at the same time in the classroom because of the pandemic. We've had a lot of changing rules. For example, last fall, when we could go back to school, some students were 10 in the classroom, maybe another 15 at home. And then every other day they would rotate. So Tuesday would be another 10, the other 15 at home. And then another. So it was never everybody studying at the same time, which must have been crazy. I don't teach high school in the public setting. I do teach at the college level here, but the college is closed. We haven't been open since last March. But these high schools here in Canada, Ontario, Toronto, started to be open last fall. Now, because of that, because of the rotating high school schedule of people in and out of classrooms, it was very hard for teachers to organize, you know, studying this novel and preparing students for the exam because of the rotation. As of this winter, starting in January, we're not having, there's no high school classes again. We're in a lockdown, so nobody can really leave home. Having said all of this, the school decided that getting rid of the exams was in accordance with the Ontario government, but we have to figure out what could be replaced. Many schools are using essays to replace the mark. Others are extending the 70% for these and making, like, you see these grades, these weighted grades here. For example, they'll change the unit essays and the media projects to be out of 20%. So they're increasing them, or increasing all of these by percentages to make them higher, which can make life brutal, depending, right? Even if you get like a 78 or if you get an 80 on an essay and the essay has now become 30% of your mark, that's still not fantastic. So what the school and I have decided is to change the ISU. So you still have to do an ISU. You still have to create an online platform. The online platform now only counts for 10% of the final mark, and the other 20% is a presentation on your e-portfolio. Live in the classroom would constitute a higher mark than something that's recorded or just a PPT, or if you don't do it. But that's now the 30%. So when you get to this part of your report card now, you'll see that the ISU presentation slides or portfolio here is going to be 10%, and the other 20% is now the presentation. So most of you are used to the presentation part of it. Won't be hard for you to get at least 80 if you do a live presentation with your camera on. Your portfolio, depending on the quality of the work there, will be marked Adam 7. So then the final mark now, the final 30%, is the ISU, the e-portfolio part of it, and then the presentation part of it. And I thought that that would just be a nicer way than, you know, making an essay worth 30% or giving you more marks here and there, like making the writing assignments, the major writing assignments, I don't know, another 5% here and there. I just thought, let's get you better at presenting. You're comfortable with presenting, and it'd probably be easier to get an 80. Okay,